Hello, fellow cinephiles, and welcome back to another episode of SteveReviews. I am your host, Steve Sullivan. I am a writer and film critic for FilmMonthly.com. Today I want to start off with what, I don't know if it'll be a simple question, but it's a question I think needs to be asked. What happened to James Cameron? Now I know he's a big name in the Hollywood industry and most people are familiar with it, but he's not the same as he was before. And yes, I know people, are going to grow and expand and try different things. But the James Cameron we have now does not feel like the James Cameron that we once knew. And in particular, I want to talk about a 7-year stretch between 1984 and 1991. In 1984, a young director named James Cameron came along and brought us one of the great sci-fi action movies of all time, The Terminator. It's got an intriguing storyline. It's got great special effects for the budget and the time. And the acting is really good. You have all the elements there in one movie. And here we are, 34 years later, and you can still pop it in and watch it and enjoy it every single time. It's just one of those. It's a landmark, and it's an epic movie that sticks with you. We fast forward a couple of years, and based on the success of Terminator, when they decided to make a sequel to Alien, they got James Cameron to helm the film. So in 1986, Cameron did Aliens. Aliens is not as suspenseful as its predecessor, but man, the action, the chemistry amongst the actors, the script, the cinematography of it, just the feel of the movie overall is it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to see when everything kind of clicks like that. And as a matter of fact, Sigourney Weaver, who was in the original, she comes back as Ripley in Aliens, and you want to talk about crushing a role. I mean, she was nominated for an Academy Award for her portrayal of Ripley. And if you go back in the history of the Oscars, you are not going to see many, if any, cases of a woman being nominated for Best Actress from a science fiction movie. And it was, obviously, if you've seen Aliens, you know that nomination was a well-deserved nomination. It also showed, looking back to Terminator, that James Cameron knew how to work with actors and get great performances out of them. You saw it in both of those two. And then when you get to Terminator 2 Judgment Day, one of the best sequels of all time. You take the immense upgrades in special effects, the things that they were able to do, even back in 1991, was astounding. I mean, you look at the T-1000, and that is a huge benchmark in special effects. Especially, 1991, you just were not seeing effects like that. But the fact that he incorporated the effects in with a great story, and once again, great acting performances, especially from Linda Hamilton, who is just, she is a strong, powerful woman, but at the same time, she steps back and she has strong emotions. She proves herself to be a complete all-around woman, and she is amazing in the role, and it shows you once again that, hey, James Cameron is not just good with the action and the special effects, but he also knows how to direct his actors. So, of course, after Terminator 2 Judgment Day came out in 1991, you look at that and you're like, oh man, I can't wait to see what his next project is. I'm so excited for this. I'm so looking forward to it. So, of course, his next project was Titanic from 1997. Now, at the time you'd watch shows like Entertainment Tonight, and they would hype up, this huge budget movie with all these major special effects, and it was going to be, a remarkable piece of film work. And you go to see the movie, And for the most part, up until the Titanic hits the iceberg and starts to break apart, the movie is a colossal bore. It's snore worthy, and the actors are just. It doesn't feel like they're giving their all. Either that or they're trying too hard, and it comes across as that. The only actor in the film that you should look at and go, that's actually pretty good. Kate Winslet gave a stirring performance, and she actually did a good job with what she was given. The rest of the actors, I don't know. I mean, DiCaprio got super famous for Titanic, but that was because he was a heartthrob. It had nothing to do with his acting. It was because women of all ages found him to be sexy, and they came out in droves, and they thought the story with Jack and Rose was just so beautiful. It was not. DiCaprio did not exactly shine in this movie, and toward the sequence toward the end when they're both floating in the water, yeah, it was unbelievable, and I don't mean unbelievable in a good way. Thankfully, DiCaprio ended up getting together with Martin Scorsese and has made quite a name for himself as a terrific, multiple time Oscar nominated actor. Titanic, though, when this movie came out, my dad was in his early 50s. So, you can't blame this on age, folks. At times, as I sighed over and over again from the boredom I was feeling, I would look over at my father and see him almost falling asleep. And even during the sequences with the Titanic sinking, he still did not seem like he was up and excited about it, and neither was I. When the movie was over and I walked out of the theater, I felt relieved that I was away from the movie. I was thrilled that I had finally finished watching it, and I think I've only revisited it once. I may do it again at some point. I don't know why I'm going to submit myself through the torture, but Titanic, when it's on TV, you see that it's given 4 stars, and the modern classic, and the American Film Institute, when they redid their 100 greatest films list, they added Titanic, which, believe me, in my friend and film-loving circle that I have found this out, we were phone tagging each other about the nightmare and the travesty of Titanic being listed as one of the 100 greatest movies. Because I hate to tell you this, folks, even if you enjoy the movie, Titanic is not one of the 100 greatest movies ever made in America. It just isn't. There's nothing about it that screams great. And you can't judge a movie entirely by its special effects and say it's an awesome movie, it's a terrific movie. Which, of course, brings me to the real reason why we're here today, and that is 2009's Avatar. This movie had so much advanced hype to it, especially when it came to the special effects realm. I mean, James Cameron hadn't directed a movie since Titanic, and he had spent all this time just working on research and figuring out ways to improve the capabilities of special effects in movies. And so here comes Avatar. Now, initially, I wasn't really that high on it. I remember being burned by Titanic and thought, can James Cameron salvage his old self to me? So when I found out in early 2010 that Avatar had been nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, I thought, okay, it's got a nomination for this. As I'm wont to do, I had to see what was so important about this movie. Why was it nominated for Best Picture? And so I watched it. Pretty much from the opening notes, I was bored. Just completely, almost taking a nap, bored. The script is so terrible. The lines that are given to the actors, it's like this is something that you would expect to see in some low rate cheesy B movie with a crummy budget. You know, you would this is a movie that was estimated to cost $237 million in 2009 to make. That's astonishing. And obviously, all that money went into the special effects. It didn't go into the screenwriting. If you take a look back and listen to some of the lines, the dialogue is so cringeworthy. There were times where I just found myself like almost looking away or looking out of the corner of my eye at the screen like, oh, did they really just say that? And the acting performances are hammy. They're over the top and not in a good way. It's an embarrassment. And Sigourney Weaver, here she is. She's back with James Cameron, right? So, she's going to rekindle the magic that she had in 1986 with Aliens. And she's going to show why, she works well with Cameron. That did not come across. To say that she was the best actor in the film, and she did the best that she could with what she was given. Let's put it that way. It wasn't great, but it was better than everybody else, including our lead actor, Sam Worthington. Hoo boy. I don't know where they got him from, but this is somebody who should not be starring in a movie. If he wants to be a sidekick, get a few lines here or there, okay, fine. I mean, look at in Terminator Salvation. He was the best part of that movie. But here, you give him the lead role in a movie that's 2 hours and 41 minutes long. Oh my Lord, it felt like twice that length. But besides the point there, let's get back to on track. Worthington's not good. And it's not just this. I mean, when they did the remake of Clash of the Titans and put him in there, he was not good. He is better suited to not be a leading man. And I mean, if you look at between 2009 and 2018, where we currently are, in those 9 years, what does he start in? Clash of the Champions and its sequel? Or Clash of the Champions? Wrestling fan, sorry about that. Clash of the Titans and its sequel, they both bombed at the theater, and just nobody cared. And of course, it could be the fact of the source material, since Clash of the Titans was a beloved, fantasy film from the early 80s with great special effects done by Ray Harryhausen, an absolute legend. And trying to remake that, reboot it, whatever you want to call it anymore, was unnecessary. And Sam Worthington cannot carry a film on his own, and he most definitely proved it in Avatar. And as the movie goes along, all I keep thinking is, I don't want to hear people talk because the dialogue is trash. It's really stupid. It's not worth listening to. And then you see the Na'vi and, you see the special effect, the reason why everybody in the world came out to see the movie, why it made over $1 billion worldwide box office, was because of the special effects that Cameron had been working on for, over a decade. And sure, they're stunning and they're pretty to look at, but I don't know about you. I don't want to go somewhere and stare at something for 2 hours and 41 minutes just because it's pretty. That's just me. I mean, I've never been a fan of strip clubs either, so I just don't get the point. This movie is not good at all. None of it. The acting is atrocious. The direction is subpar The script is awful. The script is just so bad. It is so awful. I mean, there were so many times where I just squirmed in my seat listening to what was being said. Uh, and yes, the special effects are there, but I don't want people coming out and saying that it's a masterpiece and that James Cameron has done it again and it's a marvel of the cinema, because it's none of those things. I've seen it advertised when it's been shown on television, and they give it 4 stars. And it makes me want to jump through the screen and rip those 4 stars, at least take 3 of those 4 stars right off. Because this movie is not a 4-star gem. It's not a 4-star classic. And unfortunately, along the years, a number of people have asked me, it's like, well, if it's not good, why did it make so much money? Which is always a very fun question. A number of movies over the years have made loads of money and have been dog poo on the bottom of your boot. For instance, the Transformers series. They're all, I guess some people like the idea of just dumb, mindless fun with even special effects that are kind of crap. So if that's what you like, watch them. But don't try to act like they're good. I'm glad that you enjoy them, but overall as a movie, they're all terrible. And the director himself, Michael Bay, has all but said that. He doesn't care that the movies are crap. He doesn't care that the dialogue is crap. All he knows is that I'm going to make a movie that's 2 hours, maybe more than 2 hours, blow a lot of stuff up. You'll come and you'll fork over your money to me. And once that's happened, that's all that matters. I've got your money. I don't care about the quality. And the unfortunate thing, at least in my view of this, it looks as if, sadly, James Cameron may be going down that same route. I don't want to think that. I don't want to say it, and I hope it's not the case. But James Cameron could slowly but surely be turning into Michael Bay. And some people are going to be very upset hearing me say that. Frustrated, angry, what have you. But I mean, look at it. Take a look at what's, look at what's happening. Look at what's going on right now. And plus, you can do terrific visuals and have a magnificent story behind it. A prime example of that, and well, we can go way back to 1968 with 2001: A Space Odyssey. Some people may be confused and may not understand exactly what the story is about, but when you look at the visuals and you see the performances you get out of the actors, including an actor that you never see physically because he's a robot. HAL 9000 gives one of the greatest acting performances in cinematic history. But there is a script behind this movie. It's not just all about the visual. The visuals are there and they're stunning, but there's also a gripping story that keeps you involved throughout. And in recent memory, I take a look at 2011's Melancholia, directed by Lars von Trier. That movie is gorgeously shot. There are some science fiction elements in that movie, and the effects are beautiful, and they're actually quite mesmerizing at times. But beyond the science fiction elements, there is a story that you fall for and you feel for the characters, and the actors are spot on, and they actually feel like they want to be there and they're trying to give their all, and you feel that all, especially with Kirsten Dunst. It is easily the greatest performance of her life, and she is magnificent. I rewatched the movie again recently, and it's one that I need to put in regular rotation. It's probably the only Lars von Trier movie that I would put in regular rotation, considering I have seen Antichrist once and don't know if I will ever go back to it. Not that it's a horrible movie, but it's just the subject matter and the visuals in that movie are just very hard to take. But Melancholia is gorgeously shot, and it's wonderfully acted, and it's a movie that's a science fiction slash fantasy type movie that has the visuals but also has the script and the acting to back it up. Not only that, it cost let me see, get the exact numbers here. It cost $230 million less to make. So just because you put all these millions and millions of dollars into CGI for your movie does not mean it's going to be a better movie overall. And Avatar is not a great movie. Avatar's not a good movie. At best, I can just say that Avatar is a movie, I guess. And yes, it made $1 billion. The one thing that I want to get across, if anything, with this channel, box office success does not equate to quality of film. There have been a number of movies that have severely underperformed at the box office. But if you get a chance to watch them yourself or see them on home media and you just go, whoa, why weren't people drawn to this? Why didn't more people go out and see this? Meanwhile, the movies that everybody sees, you'll watch some of those and think to yourself, why are people going to see this? What's the attraction? I don't understand. And that happens quite a lot. One of the best examples of that is you go back to the 1940s when Orson Welles wrote, directed, produced Citizen Kane. It tanked at the box office. People did not understand what they were seeing, what the movie was about. They did not flock to the movie. And at the Academy Awards, it was overlooked for Best Picture by How Green Was My Valley. And yes, I'm sure some of you are like, what movie? That's because How Green Was My Valley was a movie that, unless you're a film historian, has probably been long forgotten. Meanwhile, Citizen Kane, even if you're not a huge movie fan, Citizen Kane is one of the top rated movies of all time, not just in the United States, but around the world. The American Film Institute, for instance, when they did their list of the 100 greatest movies in 1998, the number one movie was Citizen Kane. When they revisited the list in 2007, some movies left, new movies joined the list, some rose up in the list, some fell down in the list. But what was the constant? After a 9-year gap, the number one movie was still Citizen Kane. And so here you go, the movie that's looked upon as the greatest movie ever made did nothing at the box office. And therein lies the point, folks. I don't ever want you to say, that movie made $1 billion, there must be something good about it. Making loads of money makes no difference about what the movie's actually about and if it's good. And unfortunately, Michael Bay has been proving that for years and will continue to do so as long as he wants to direct anything. He's going to show you that, as long as I get your money, I'll keep putting out crap, but I'll be like, hey, look, it's crap, but it's something you remember when you were younger. Remember Transformers? Come and see them the way I do it. Oh, you don't like it? That's okay. I got your money now, so who cares? Don't let yourself fall into that trap. Don't buy into the hype. It's like, go see a movie. If you actually enjoy a movie that's making a lot of money, terrific. Each individual person has their own tastes, their own likes, but do not just fall blindly into something because everyone else is doing so. And please, do not look at, if you don't see a movie on opening weekend, but you see it makes $100 million, and you hear somebody say that movie was terrible, the one question implore you, please do not ask this question to yourself or to anybody else. And that question is, well, how can it be bad if it made so much money? I cannot stress enough how bothersome that is, not only to me, but to a number of folks that I know. So, Avatar. And I'm not just basing it on watching it in 2010. I actually rewatched it shortly before making this video, and I still feel the same way. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes. It feels twice that length. It is boring from start to finish. Even when they have some of the battles, some of the action sequences, it's still snore-inducing. It is boring from top to bottom. And Sigourney Weaver, bless her heart, she tried her best with the nonsense she was given. So I have to give some kind of credit to her. But overall, the movie is not a masterpiece. It's not a 4-star classic. It's not a 3-star good movie. It's not even a 2-star mediocre movie. I mean, I have a hard time giving it 1 star at best. It's just, if I'm going to spend 2 hours and 41 minutes, I can probably fit a couple of 80s horror movies into that length of time. That'd be more worth my time and effort than to watch Avatar again. So now that I've seen it twice, it feels like it's 2 times too many, and I don't think I will revisit it again. And I know some people will say, well, Steve, hasn't it been documented that a lot of film critics and historians will take a look at movies 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road and have a different look at the movie itself and give it a little more acclaim? That is very true. Here we are 8 years later. I watched Avatar again, and it's still awful. If I watched it another 8, 16, 24, 32 years, it's not going to change the fact that it is just poorly made and is just awful. To me, Avatar is not underappreciated. Avatar is just awful. So, on that note, we are going to end this episode. Of course, we're going to do the shout outs. Shout out to a terrific little podcast out there called Cadaver Cast, where 6-year-old Alistair Burnham and his father Jeff take a look at family-friendly horror movies that you and your children can both watch without fearing the fact that they might get too scared or spooked, as it were. So check out your favorite podcast provider and see if you can find Cadavercast and check them out. Give them a good listen. They're good folks, and they put together a quality show. And while you're taking a look around at some podcasts, look up Quote Unquote Guilty as well. This time it's Quote Unquote Guilty is hosted by Joe Ketchum. It is a podcast that's based around what people would consider guilty pleasures, not only in movies, but in a lot of other areas in pop culture. So give them a listen. They're celebrating their 100th episode. So if you're not familiar with Quote Unquote Guilty, you got a lot of catching up to do. So go check them out. And also, make sure you head on over to filmmonthly.com. Check out some of my back catalog of reviews and articles that I have personally done. And while you're there, take a look at all the other great write-ups done by loads of really young, talented, and amazing writers and critics from all across the country. So filmmonthly.com, go over there and check them out. And thanks for joining me again today. Until we meet again, have a beautiful day and good journey.